Welcome to Lift Your Legacy. My name is Jacob Rupp, father, husband, and rabbi. And each week we bring you an inspiring person or message to help you unlock your inner potential and create change that will impact the future. Thank you for listening, and let's get to it. Thank you so much. I'm here, my very first, thank God, return guest, Simcha Gluck. I was going to start you with Rabbi. We can give that term officially. Simcha Gluck is the founder of FreshBiz, which is an entrepreneurial game, really building a community, an international community of helping the new entrepreneurs, which is actually the name of his first book, available on Amazon. Your second book is called what again?
It's going to be called Entrepreneurship in the Torah, and it's awesome. A refresh on the ancient Chachma with a mix of the digital world that we're in right now.
Entrepreneur? I'm so jacked about that. That's exciting. Okay, so speaking of the Torah, speaking of entrepreneurship, we are holding now right before Rosh Hashanah. We're a week away. I wanted to ask you, as you know, in what you've seen and how you've been involved, what is this concept of change and reinventing yourself and taking meaningful steps forward towards what you want to achieve? What's the process you would advocate or that you've seen work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that right now what makes Elul and Rosh Hashanah so special is it's a very intentional new start of a new energy, of a new mazal, of a new flow in the world. And you know, one of the things that we're told in Bereshit, we're told in Genesis that we're created in God's image. And the idea that God is basically recreating every single day. Hashem creates every single day, every moment, every single second, is a good idea for us that we can also essentially recreate ourselves and our identity and our people around us every single second. But that might be a little bit too much for some people. So over the course of a whole year, to pick a specific window, which is Elul, and specifically Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, to be able to really work on getting back in integrity with the creator of the universe it's an amazing time. You know, typically the sages talk about the three main ways, of course, of how to get back in integrity is, for sure, way number one is to admit whatever was done wrong or not ideal or things that we did that we're not really excited or proud of. And, the second is to regret it, to feel bad about it. I want to make a really important distinction because too many people, unfortunately, I feel like based on the world that I see from coaching and talking to people is too many people, they feel bad and they sort of internalize it and they live with it. And then they put themselves through suffering, and mental suffering that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about literally, the feeling saying, this didn't work, man, that hurts that I even did that to someone who I love so much. And the third thing is how to get back on track, saying, look, going forward, I'm committed to being this person in my relationship with my creator in the world. And those three steps are really powerful. That basically is the three mechanisms of tshuva, of repentance, of getting back to the source, getting back in integrity with God. And that's what I work on being mindful of right now. I work on, Jacob, just to be honest with you, growing up sort of as a religious Orthodox kid going to yeshivas, very often this was the time of year where we really had to, it was like slach lanu, it was like a shot, like people were smashing their chests, like they were almost like in a breakthrough to their heart. And like that, you're like, wow, that guy's really serious, and it's like, it's not about staying lodged in this painful suffering thinking of what we did bad. Oh my God, we're going to go to hell. It's like, that's not the fear-based reality that we want to get to. We want to get back to how we could be better. And I would just say, for those of you that are in relationships with girls, with guys, for those of you that are a husband or a wife, or if you have kids, just think about that with your own micro relationships. It's like you want to be a better dad, right? So what does it look like to focus on how I can be a better dad or how I could be a better husband? And that's really the same thing that we want to ascribe to how we can be better in our relationship with the creator of the universe, who's amazing.
So it sounds like there's
a similar.
No, I love that. What naturally kind of pops out to me is the prelude and what sort of comes before that process, which is the amount of humility that's required for a person to essentially be able to detach themselves from the results and look at themselves for trying, I guess, in the first place, which means that we are living in such a difficult situation. The world is so results based, and we judge success on completely external factors. And even the own bar, like the own bars that we set for ourselves, that is also to a certain extent external. And I forgot who, one of the guests that I had interviewed, who said this amazing idea is just that he defines success as just, did you try? And once you start to say, okay, even if I didn't necessarily reach, because I think in a lot of cases it's, and again, perhaps in business it's different, but I mean, you would tell me different, but sometimes it's really hard to completely articulate where we want to go. One of my heroes who I listen to consistently, I was actually listening to him before you came on the show, Jocko Willink is the Navy SEAL, and he does a bunch of business leadership training. So he was saying, I asked him one time, I said, so what's your next step? And he said, well, I don't really know. 2 years ago, I didn't have a book. A year ago, I didn't have a podcast. I don't know. I'm just kind of excited for the future. So I guess an interesting question and thing that I'm thinking about is, if you look back and you say, I could have done better, that's so general. It's like how and why and where. And maybe I couldn't have, maybe I could, I know that I can remember times when I've been not the best father, not the best husband, but in reality, a lot of times this idea of what we're trying to create is so organic that it's hard to figure out where you went off track. And so that's kind of a question that I'm figuring out and thinking about myself. And you could take this in a business direction. You could take it in a personal direction. How do you figure out where you're going per se, besides just a general platitude, in order to figure out your next step?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, there's a lot of things that you just said that I think could be unpackaged a lot. For sure, the idea of doing things, I heard this, I don't remember where I heard this, but doing things from a place of NATO, not attached to outcome. Doing things where you want to just show up powerfully, where you're like, yeah, sure, I'm doing this NATO, I'm doing this, I'm committed, but I'm not attached to some outcome, because realistically, I don't control outcomes. I just control my showing up as the most powerful version of myself that I possibly can to do whatever I can. But ultimately, God determines this. And by the way, just to bring up, almost everyone, whether you're a practicing Jewish person or you're not, most everybody knows the idea of Mazel Tov, right? Mazel Tov, congratulations. But what a lot of people don't know is that where the word, really according to Kabbalah, where the word mazal comes from is it comes from the word nozel, which means to flow. And essentially when we're talking about mazal tov, congratulations, it's not congratulations, even though that's how we loosely translate it. It's we're wishing people that they should be in a good flow. Things should flow through them. They should flow through themselves. They should allow the Creator to flow through them, through their activities and their behaviors and their actions. That's really what we're blessing people. And I'm with you, my friend. We don't know every single thing exactly. That's why in the world of business nowadays, more and more, certainly what we're seeing in the world of training and consulting is more and more people are ditching the whole 2 to 5 year plan, because that's insane. Why would I make the assumption that the world's going to be exactly the same 2 to 5 years from now, and we're going to pretend that there's going to be a course? I mean, all of a sudden, there's a new book, there's a new podcast, there's a new technology, there's new disruption that makes the whole world. I mean, it's crazy. So you can't think like that. So the good news is, at least the difference, I feel like between, let's say, the business world and the metaphysical world in terms of how we conduct ourselves as Jewish inspirational influencers who are here on the planet, is the fact that we do get credit for the effort we put in. We get credit for things that in the real world that might be results oriented. How much effort I put in to try and understand, the weekly Torah portion, or how much effort I put in to try and do an act of chesed, of generosity, even though in the end I didn't actually get to do it, right? So in the world of business, you go, well, you didn't do it, so it doesn't matter, right? But in the metaphysical world of Judaism, just the fact that my muscle memory created the fact that I was so committed to doing something, my kavanah, my intention was there, man, that makes me a better human, that uplifts the soul. So it's a really nice distinction that we have between literally us trying and having kavanah, having intention, versus in the typical business world that might say, well, bottom line, what are the bottom line results? Da, 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 da. But
can I I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I share something about that I had this experience this year? And it's, one of those things I always tell clients that people relate to the pain as you're going through it. So find something that you're actually struggling with. Don't give me like, oh, well, one time X, Y, and Z, because it's like, it's kind of dead. But I had this experience, and now I think I'm kind of over it, but to just to kind of clarify what you're saying in my own experience, I had essentially set up what I hope to be a phenomenal, kind of opportunity of working with people. And there was a very nice a chunk of money that I was essentially felt was committed, and just kind of over 1-2 days, like the whole thing just completely evaporated. And it was just like, and what kicked into my mind, I internalized it like 2 days afterwards, but what kicked into my mind as it was happening was, if you want to be a business person and an entrepreneur, like losing big money has to be part of what you're comfortable doing. Again, I wasn't over leveraged. It wasn't my money. It was something that it was going to be extra, but that I felt was the greatest victory from that, rather than the cash that I was looking at, was this ability to take the hit and not to become depressed and kind of give up for a couple of months.
That's such a good move. I'll never forget. I have this, in back of my house over here in this beautiful valley, I have this, I rent this organic plot where basically me and my family can do gardening and things. I don't want to make it seem like we do, okay? But at least it's there, it's like we could do it, okay? We go picnic there and barbecue.
You painted a nice image in my head. I love it.
What's that?
I said I painted a nice image in my head, so that sounds nice.
Thanks. I'm just being honest. It's like I'd like to actually garden in there, but I'll never forget. I was actually doing a little bit of gardening work there. This was about 6 years ago, when this is before I was really full time with our company FreshBiz and training, and I was in the world of real estate. I was a real estate agent with Remax. My wife, and I worked together, and it was really an amazing experience. Thank God. And I'll never forget. Just a funny story leading up to this phone call that I got that was 1 minute and 40 seconds. But basically, out of nowhere, this amazing agent in Tel Aviv calls me up and he goes, Simcha, I only want to work with you. I heard you're a really good guy. And I only want to work with you. I have a client that has $10 million to buy a property in Jerusalem. Now, for a guy that's basically based in Armona Natsiv, which is the least extravagant neighborhood of Jerusalem, anybody with a budget of $10 million, that's crazy. I mean, it's a home run. So I started in my head doing calculations. I'm like, oh my God, that's like a $50,000, $80,000 commission. Are you kidding me? He goes, and this guy already bought like a $7 million property for me in Tel Aviv. So he's really committed. I'm doing the math, calculators are going in my head. I'm excited. I'm like flying 5 feet off the floor for the next like couple of days, and I basically start planning a whole tour for this guy. And really, he's his word. This guy says, I'm only going to buy through you, this other agent. And the other agent says to me, I'm only going to work you in Jerusalem. In my head, I'm already counting dollars and cents. I'm excited. Anyways, the day comes. I've spent the past 6 weeks training and putting a whole tour together. This guy comes with his wife, 4 bodyguards. I mean, this is a deal, And I'm taking him around to these 5 different properties in Jerusalem. And I'm just so fired up because I don't know what, but there is a win here to be had, right? I mean, that's the deal. So I'm pretty fired up. And by the end of the day, okay, he liked one property the most. And I was really excited about what that looked like. It was an $8 million property. Fast forward 5 days later, I'm in my garden in back, barefoot, just digging, hanging out. I just finished praying. I just finished connecting. I was really excited. I get this phone call from the agent, Mati. He says to me, he goes, Simcha, you're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe what happened. I'm so sorry. Basically, while you were showing this family the different properties, and they agreed that they were only going to buy through me and through you, they actually wound up running into a family friend that they hadn't seen in 25 years who said to them, we're actually not looking to sell our property, but if you're looking to buy something that has the specific views that you're looking to have, why don't you go buy our property? And that's the property that they actually chose to go through. They just bought it today. So I'll keep you posted next time. And I'm like, in my head, there were like a billion processes that happened. And I look at my phone, it was like 1 minute and 48 seconds of conversation. Basically, in other words, translated to, you will not have an income of $60,000 to $80,000 coming in for you that you thought you would. And I remember I just like looked up and I go, that's the deal, okay. It wasn't that it was supposed to go through, but it was really God showing me that it's always possible. And sometimes we're supposed to live in the reality that it's not that every single thing should go through, but it's that we believe that with God, creator of the universe, it is possible to happen. At any given moment, something is possible. And sometimes that sort of paradigm shift, knowing that something is possible, is the lesson we're supposed to experience and not the actual paycheck or the actual commission or the deal closing. And I don't want to make it seem like it happened instantaneously. I went through a process mentally for a few minutes or whatever it was, but man, holy cow. Sometimes, Jacob, that's exactly the deal. We're shown something not because we're supposed to have it, but because God wants us to really have our paradigm expanded to know it's possible for you.
So because you and I could probably talk for like 10 hours and we want to do a shorter segment this time, to kind of finalize what we were saying, this a concept of NATO, not attached to outcome, that sometimes the inspiration and the vision to realize what's out there is much more significant than the actual practical outcome that you came. So I guess the idea that we can sort of just push into the Elul idea is that we could certainly have a very high expectation for who we could be as parents, as spouses, as business people, as Jews, and that's great. And that's not necessarily not true. The fact that we didn't reach that is also not something that we should be just, like hating ourselves about, but the fact that we had a vision, we saw, we tried, great. If we can pull back and sort of refocus on the goal, that's, I think, where we can start the whole process that you suggested of saying, okay, so then what didn't practically work? And I don't really want to do that, say you're sorry, and then kind of make a plan going forward and then really try to implement that. Fair to say?
Yeah, sure. It's beautiful. I think even on a more, on a more simple level, right, which is just, we know the famous idea that Elul really stands for Ani LeDodi v'Dodi Li. I'm to my beloved and my beloved is to me. And what that I think really means, what that really is saying, the whole idea that Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, takes place in a time where I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me, is just exactly that. Think about it with your spouse or your loved ones, which is, look, we don't every given moment have a way that we should or shouldn't be. We don't have a given behavior that we should or shouldn't do, right? But the moment that we snap into knowing that that's my beloved and I'm beloved to that person, then let's just show up as what we would do as beloveds to each other, as best friends to each other. That's it. Let the whole idea that I'm beloved to you and you're beloved to me, let that indicate, or let that be the indicator of the behavior that we need to take and how we should be. And in moments where we weren't that, and believe me, I get angry too quickly. I lose my patience too quickly. I have so much work to do on myself. It's insane, and it really bugs me out sometimes. But I tell myself, I'm a process. I'm a human being. I'm a process. I'm getting better. My goal is to get better. And I think that's a good focus that we can remember is, we're here to be for our beloved, whether it's your friends in life, your spouse in real life, or definitely our creator who really recreates us every single moment of the day and lets us have success for the new year. I think that's how we can remember to be for our beloved and to be in that place of a good flow and have the good mazal that we were just talking about before.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Simcha, just plug us one more time. Where can we find you and follow up with you?
Oh, thanks. I'm on Facebook, Simcha Gluck. I'm also on LinkedIn too. And our website is freshbizgame.com. And our book is The New Entrepreneurs with a Z at the end. And those are all good places. And I wish all your listeners and all your viewers a Shana Tova U'Metuka, happy, healthy, blessed new year. God bless you guys.
Amen. Thank you. And on my end also. Thank you so much. There you have it, folks, another inspiring episode. If you enjoyed this, I ask you to please share this with your friends and to like us over on Rabbi Rupp through Facebook or on YouTube. And the more that we're able to get these important messages out, the more that we can really make an impact in the world. So I encourage you, please, to stay tuned. We have a ton of amazing speakers coming up, and also to tell your friends about it. Thank you very much.